Technology working today, and it's saying I have a low connection, but I think we're on. Hi, happy Tuesday, besties and bosses. How's everyone doing? We've got the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, so hopefully everyone is, at least in the US. I don't know we probably don't celebrate Thanksgiving outside of the US, but hopefully everyone is starting to wind down a little bit and enjoy this week. And what is Instagram telling me? Hey, for those of you who are joining, I'm excited for today's topic. I say that every week, but I think today will be fun. I want to give you a peek behind the scenes. I talk mindset all the time, and I want to share one of the mindset practices that has really changed everything for me in my business and my personal life. I think it's going to be a little more simple and obvious than you think, but I want to really peel back the layers in terms of how, hey Haley, nice to have you, how this mindset practice has specifically helped me, and I want to show you how to apply it to your business, because I think sometimes we learn these tools and they're really great, but they're almost abstract, and we don't know how to apply them to our business and help them help us make more money in our business. I want to show you how this changes everything in your business as well as your personal life, give you some of the science behind it, and then I think it'll be fun to see a bit of behind the scenes in terms of how I literally practice this every single day and how I've seen this make changes in my personal life, but in my business as well in terms of the money I'm making. Hey lady, nice to have you here. Happy pre-Thanksgiving. And hey, those of you joining on Instagram, both going back and forth. So I know I talk about mindset all the time. If you don't know me and you're new to my world, I believe with my whole being that everything in business success, quite honestly, success outside of business, all comes down to clarity, mindset, strategy, and action. So I'm not about to say mindset is the whole thing in terms of what creates business success and making that money doing what we love. However, I do believe it is, I'd say 90% or more of what goes into creating business success, and what I have seen make a huge difference for me in terms of going from hustling, working really hard, scraping by, barely, having really pushing hard to get some money through the door, to where business feels easy and to where I'm making consistent 5-figure months. And it's not just about me, it's really what I see make such a big difference for my clients. Absolutely, we're talking strategy. Absolutely, we're talking about taking action and getting clarity on things. But that mindset piece is where I see things start to really, we hear about the quantum leaps. People have those quantum leaps, or where I see people get out of their way, or where I see the strategy suddenly light on fire and the results go from kind of okay to hitting those record-breaking income months. So again, mindset isn't the whole thing, and I want to be mindful of that since we're talking about business. I think sometimes it can almost feel like we're forgetting the other parts, but I'd say it's 90, even 95% of the game. Those of you who are with me live, let me know if that's something you've experienced to be true as well. I'm always curious to hear how mindset resonates with all y'all. I sound so southern today. I think if you're hanging out with me, it probably does, but I do think sometimes I hear from people that are like, what's the deal with this mindset stuff? What does that even mean? I think it changes everything, because it changes the lens and the way in which we're showing up through that strategy and action, right? Anyway, I'm trying to tease this out a little bit, because when I share what has made such a big difference for me, you're gonna be like, Kim, really? That's it? So hang with me, because I want to really dig into why this particular mindset practice. Haley says 100%. Had a feeling you would connect with this one, Haley. So the mindset practice, the thing that has made such a big difference for me, and y'all, I think what's important to preface this with is I have a history of depression. I worked through a metric fuck ton of my own bullshit to get to a place where not only do I have a business that's successful and thriving and making great money, but honestly where I am happy and I enjoy my business and I love my life and I have a healthy relationship. And I've shared this very openly before, but just for those of you who are new, you rewind the tape 6 years and it was fine. It wasn't falling apart, but the internal game, my inside game, was a hot mess. I was acting at the time, and you could just see the insecurity. It was dripping off of me, and the need for approval. It's probably why I was an actress, quite honestly. Not the only reason. I loved acting, but I think it influenced so much. And so the mindset work here, and one of the things I'm talking about here today has made, when I say game changing, internally and externally, change the game. And that's gratitude. And I want to talk about gratitude in the present tense and gratitude in the future tense, and how this literally changes everything in business. And before y'all jump off, because it's almost I feel like gratitude has become so mainstream, hashtag gratitude, hashtag attitude of gratitude, that it's almost yeah, I've heard that before. And my question to clients sometimes when we talk about this is right, but are you actively using this tool? And how are you using this tool? Are you using this as a lens to not only help you feel better, but to actively change the whole scope of your business? And that's what I want to talk about today, because gratitude, we've all heard about it. I mean, raise your hand. Who doesn't have a gratitude journal? Who hasn't heard of the 5-minute journal and the gratitude practice? And how many of us are actively practicing gratitude in a way that's benefiting us? I mean, maybe if you're hanging out with me, you are, and if you're listening to this, but I'd say the majority of people are not. They've just heard about it. It's kind of like meditation. We know it's good for us, but we're not doing it. Or working out. We know if we work out, we'll get in shape, but are we actually doing it? It's almost like it seems too good to be true. Gratitude for me has changed the entire scope. So let's just talk about what gratitude does, because again, I think it's one of those, it's almost like a feel-good word, and we forget the powerful science behind it and the woo behind it. And I think sometimes that science helps us understand the woo. Gratitude it's literally one of the most proven ways to rewire our brain and boost our happiness. So if you look like at any psychological positive psychology journal, gratitude is the thing they're going to come back to over and over and over again as one of the most powerful tools we can lean into. So this isn't just me saying this, and I'm going to connect it to business in a second, but it's one of the few ways I've actually seen we can really rewire our brain. So for those of you who haven't heard me say this 1,010 times, 95 to 99% of all of our conscious action gets its start in our subconscious mind. So a lot of us are operating our business, running the tapes of our childhood selves, basically. It's like we have a bunch of 13-year-olds running businesses, and our work as adults is to get the adult CEO version of us running our business. One of the ways we can do this is to rewire our brain. Yes, conscious action to step into that role, but also start to rewire those patterns and tapes, because a lot of this is just running without us even being aware of it. We have the ability to rewire our brain. Gratitude is one of those ways we can rewire our brain. Pretty fucking powerful. It's also been shown to boost happiness and boost your immune system. And here's where it starts tying into business. When we start thinking about things like gratitude and how this benefits us, let's just think about business and studies behind like sales, for example. People who are positive, it's just been shown they sell more. I mean, I don't know about you. I'd rather give my money to someone who seems happy and seems positive, that I know, like, and trust, right? That whole thing we're trying to do with our marketing. Part of that authentic positivity, part of that authentic know, like, and trust first starts from the internal work, which starts by us starting to practice gratitude. And hey, Jody, hey, Davo, hey, Nash. Is it Nashville? Misty must be. Thank you all for joining in. Let me know if y'all are picking up what I'm putting down. And I'm just laying the groundwork here because I feel like I have to defend gratitude almost. I think once things become mainstream, it's like we almost want to have a backlash against them and hate on them a little, because again, it seems too good to be true. And I just really want to drill this in terms of how powerful this is. This is something I spend, I'm not even joking, at least half an hour on every single day. And I can track the metrics in my business to the amount of gratitude I am practicing. Like, it's quite fascinating. And I can track the drama in my business and my personal life to the days that I'm not practicing gratitude. And here's why. When we start practicing gratitude, aside from, we're rewiring our brain, what we're starting to do is we're also starting to change the landscape of how we see the world. So yes, when we're practicing gratitude, we're getting that hit of dopamine, we're appreciating what we already have, and that's a really powerful emotion. But what we're also starting to train our brain to do is go against that negativity bias that we all have, which hardwired to see negative things 3, 2, 1. That's just kind of how we all come into this world. It's just pretty normal. I'd say some of us are probably more than 3 to 1 based on life circumstances. So as we're rewiring our brain with gratitude, what we're training our brain to do, and the way we're retraining our brain, is we're neurologically wiring our brain to start paying attention to the positive instead of the negative. Does that make sense so far? So naturally we are wired, it's like a survival mechanism, to pay attention to negative events more than positive. In your business, if we're not doing the mindset work, we are naturally wired to notice all the shit storms, all the drama, all the client problems, all the money we're not making, whatever it is, all the other people who seem to have it better than us, than the positive. It's a survival defense mechanism. If we go back to hunter-gatherer days, it serves me to notice the danger way more than it serves me to notice the good stuff. Except for, we're living in almost 2020, which is mind-blowing, by the way, but it's almost 2020. We no longer need to operate that way, but our brain's wiring is still operating that way. So we need to start rewiring our brain to notice all the good stuff. Because think about what the negativity bias does for us. The reason we were hardwired to pay attention to negative more than positive is if we could notice these things, That's what our brain would pay attention to. That's what we would take action towards so that we could stay safe, right? Is everyone following me? Let me know if you're picking up what I'm putting down. If we rewire our brain to pay attention to positive more than negative, guess what? It's going to operate in the same way. It's going to start to notice the positive opportunity and move forward and take action towards that. And this is how gratitude starts to do more than just make us feel good, which is really powerful. And if you're into manifesting, it's a really powerful emotional energy to bring stuff towards us. But in a really practical sense, we're literally changing the perspective we have and the way we see our whole world. When we see our world in a different way, we see opportunities differently. When we see opportunities differently, we act differently. When we act in a forward motion towards expecting good things and we see the good things, what do you think we're creating in our business versus when we're constantly only noticing the shitstorms and trying to put out fires? It's two completely different ways of operating your business. Just got some messages popping up. And hey Alex, thanks for joining. So let me know if this is making sense. Again, if we just think about how we're operating, it might just be like a good check-in. How am I operating my business? What is my CEO identity, right? Am I looking at my business through the lens of what is the opportunity? What is the opportunity for growth? What's the positive here? How can I create more positivity? Or am I looking and operating my business in terms of what are all the fires I need to put out? What are all the problems? What are all the shitstorms? What are all the things going wrong? What are all the things I need to manage and juggle? I mean, two completely different ways to run your business, two completely different outcomes. One is maintain, probably create some more drama. One is ease, flow, create more opportunity, grow. And so this is why when we start practicing gratitude, I'm going to give you some really clear examples, and then the practice that I actually use that I think is kind of magic. And don't mind me with my hand and the screen, just have messages popping up. This is... What was I about to say here before the messages popping up? This is how in our business, when we're practicing gratitude, it can start to change our results, and why I'm saying I can literally see the income in my business change based on how often and how I'm practicing gratitude. Do you see that correlation there? Because again, I used to hustle my little butt off and not see a whole lot of results in my business because I was operating from all the stuff I had to worry about, all the negativity, versus, again, we're shifting that perspective, same amount of work, less work, but I'm just paying attention to the really awesome things and creating more. I'm sure most of you have heard what we focus on expands. I think that's a pretty common phrase in our space. Part of the reason of that, and then I'll stop with the brain geekery. Ooh, I see a message that I didn't notice, which I'm going to read in a second. And this will be my last brain geek out, but I think it helps give some, I think, substance to the woo. And many of you might have heard the reticular activating system. It's the filtration part of our brain. It's the part of our brain that it's kind of like it takes in all the information and it tells us what to pay attention to. So if you think about, I live in New York City, that's the example I always use. When I go outside the street, there's so much stimulus flying at me. My reticular activating system, based on what I've programmed it to pay attention to, notices the things that are important to me. So if I'm trying to get uptown, I need to grab a cab, it's going to suddenly notice all the yellow cabs. Versus if I'm really hungry, I'm going to suddenly notice all the restaurants. What I'm probably not going to notice is the person across the street who's having a conversation, because that's just not what I've told my brain to pay attention to. It's the GPS, I guess you could say, of our brain. This is where gratitude becomes so powerful. Again, most of us, subconsciously, this part of our brain is running on autopilot from whatever experiences and patterns and lessons we picked up as a very well-meaning 7-year-old, 10-year-old, 13-year-old. And that is how we're operating our business. When we're practicing gratitude, and when we're doing it in this really specific way that I want to share with you, what we're starting to do is rewire our brain. Because again, remember, this is proven to rewire our brain. We're starting to reprogram that subconscious so that we can tell this operating system what to focus on, that GPS system. These are the things to notice. That's why that saying, what we focus on expands, exists. It's literally what you focus on will expand in your world, because that's what you're telling your brain to pay attention to. This is how it can feel like suddenly when you feel good, clients are falling from the sky. They've always been there. Like, I hate to tell you, it's not that the world outside changes, it's that you've changed on the inside and suddenly you can see things differently. Just like when everything seems like it's going and working against you, I say this with love, the whole world, like, life's just kind of operating the way it always is. And I say this with so much love, but it's usually a really good reflection of what's going on inside and what you're working through that you're just noticing and having reflected back to you. Haley says, totally makes sense. I love supercharging my gratitude by writing down 3 feelings as well. Ooh, I love that. That's a good little supercharge tip. I think you're gonna like my practice. You might have heard of it before. I love that, Haley. So, and to see if we have any comments on the Instagrams. No comments on the Instagrams. Y'all can't see me. I'm standing today and I'm like doing weird yoga poses. I'm in tree pose right now because that feels like a really fun way to do this live stream. So let's just use this as an example in terms of how to apply gratitude towards our business. And then I'll share the actual practice I use every day that feels a little bit like it's a magical tool that creates money in my business. But we'll see how this works first. So I think when it comes to our business, I don't think a lot of us are actively taking a look at all the things that are going well and practicing gratitude for those things. I think it's really easy to start practicing gratitude just in general. And what I notice with clients is when I ask them what they're grateful for, it's some of the things in their life, but usually because we're always trying to grow in business, and I work with a lot of high achievers. Even if we're doing amazing, we're always on to that next goal, right? Which means we're usually just paying attention to that gap from where we are to where we want to go next, and we just see the piece we're missing. We rarely pay attention to and celebrate and practice gratitude for all the good shit we have. And let's just see how this plays out if we shift again our mindset here. So, for example, let's just say you want to increase your revenue. Let's say you're doing amazing. You're making 8K months and you want to hit 10K months, like that covetous 10K month everyone always talks about. It is so easy and so normal because, again, our brain is wired, pays attention to negative more than positive. I'm only making 8K. Why am I not booking more clients? Why did this client cancel? Why did this client not pay me? Why? All the things that we can spin into because being human. Anyone been there? You know, y'all don't have to out yourself, but I'm sure we all have. I know I have been. Versus we can take the same situation and start to practice gratitude for, I am so grateful that I'm making 8K a month. Maybe you've made your first 1K. It's not about the number, but just as an example here that we do this even when we're doing well. This isn't like this suddenly goes away when we're crushing it. This is something that brains still wire the same way if we haven't done the work. I'm so grateful for the clients I have. I'm so grateful for my business. I'm so grateful for what my business gives me. I'm so grateful for the people I get to work with. And here's a really interesting one that I think is really powerful. I'm so grateful for the challenges I have because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we find we learn the most and grow the most when we have challenges present themselves in our life? I know some of the biggest challenges in my life that I wouldn't wish on another human. I am so deeply grateful for because they've made me who I am. They've taught me some of the most important lessons. They've given me resilience and strength and grit that I wouldn't have otherwise. I bet the same is true for you. And it is so easy for us to get into that victim mindset and get stuck in loop around a negative event versus having that deep gratitude. I'm not talking about spiritual bypassing and not processing. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about after you've processed the situation, but really starting to see the gratitude for it and how much gold comes out of those challenges. Hey, Tawamba, nice to see you. Hey, Healthy Feelings. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Redbird Quilt. Oh, Redbird Quilt Club. Hi, nice to have you all here. Thank you for joining in. Feel free to share any comments or questions. Nice to have you. And to see, I know sometimes on my phone I don't see the comments right away. So, besties and bosses, let me know if you have comments, reflections as well. And I think this is a place where we can take the power of gratitude, the practice of gratitude, and use it in a completely different way, which I'm not just saying the writing down what we're grateful for, but really starting to apply it to our business, specifically to those crunchy times, to the challenges we have, to the situations we have. And I'm telling you, when you do, here's what happens. The magic of using gratitude when you're dealing with a tough client situation, maybe someone hasn't paid, maybe there's a conflict, maybe you haven't booked that next client you want, maybe everyone else is doing amazing and you're not. I mean, fill in all the things that I hear from clients all the time, so normal, you all in this space. You feel like you're working too much, you're not working enough. I mean, all the things we want to have. When we apply gratitude and we look at these situations through the lens of gratitude, again, not spiritual bypassing, not avoiding or not processing feelings, but when we take the time to get grateful for the gift and the opportunity, our brain snaps into a different mode. Not only do we have a different lens, we're reticular activating system, but we get into a creative problem solving place and we're able to approach our business differently. So if I'm so grateful for my clients and I'm so grateful for the money I'm making, I'm so grateful for maybe a situation I'm going through that's a little bit challenging, don't you think suddenly I'm going to approach the way I'm showing up for my clients, the way I'm showing up for client calls, the way I'm showing up for sales calls or marketing or on a live or asking for a sale, or even the way maybe if I'm connecting with someone, the way I see opportunities. Don't you think my brain is going to be in a completely different place versus if I'm just like fucking pissed at the world and I'm being dramatic? But I mean, come on, we all do this sometimes. And all the drama it's throwing at me, picking up when I'm putting down. And so I think this is a way we can take the power of gratitude. Again, nothing new. This isn't like life altering in terms of we've all heard about gratitude, but really practically apply it every day to our business and start to use it as a tool to not only shift the way we feel, but shift the way we're literally showing up and approaching our business and the different opportunities in our business, and even the discomfort we can feel as we grow in business. Because do not kid yourself, business is a series of discomfort and uncomfortable situations presented as an opportunity for growth. I think that's the best way to say that. I mean, if you're not having those opportunities for growth that feel a little uncomfortable, you're probably not growing, right? And we can either get really mad at that and shut down and not grow, or be grateful for that and lean into it and approach it from such a different headspace. Just seeing. Thank you all for joining on the Instagrams. Again, let me know if you have questions or reflections. And let me know if this is making sense in terms of how to apply this to your business. In terms of gratitude practice, because I promised I would share a bit behind the scenes in terms of what I literally do every single day. And this sounds almost too good to be true, but this is one of the things I swear that made me go from like doing okay, kind of scraping by, to I am doing really well. And I think it's made such a game changer for me is this practice for all the reasons we're talking about. And many of you have heard this practice before. Again, nothing new, but I'm not going to ask you, are you doing it every single day? And I really encourage you to. And that's spending time, yes, practicing gratitude, practicing so much deep gratitude for my business and all the things I have from it, all the things it gives me, and all the things before it gave me all the things, just all the opportunities for growth, all the people I get to work with, the people I get to connect with, like getting really specific in that gratitude. And then from this place, journaling around, or you can, some of you I know like to more visualize, but really getting clear on the things I'm grateful for that haven't happened yet in my business specifically. And so this is where it gets a little woo, but I'm gonna break down why this works. And so for example, I think I shared this all with you on the training we did around my 24K month, my 24K cash month, I should say. One of the things that month I got really clear on was how grateful I was for everything I had, which almost allows us to detach. It's like suddenly we're not needy anymore. Suddenly we're not like, oh, I want. It's like, I am so grateful. Like I literally don't need anything else. And I got really grateful for 20K months. And I do not think it's a coincidence because I was setting an intention, but I was also putting the emotionality behind what I wanted from a really detached place. And here's what's fascinating from the way our brain, from just like a neurological perspective, our brain can't tell the difference between real and perceived events. I feel like I'm speed talking through this today, y'all, because I want to cram it all in, and I have to catch a bus so to go see my parents upstate. So I'm like, let me get this all in for you. So tell me if you need me to pause or repeat anything, because I do have time before my bus leaves. But our brain can't tell the difference between a real and perceived event. So this is why gratitude is so powerful versus what most of us do is worry. Our brain can't tell the difference between a real and perceived event. If you're feeding your brain with worry, it thinks that's really happened, and your body's having the emotional response and it's reacting as such. If we're in gratitude, so we've already primed our brain with that really powerful emotion, we're rewiring our brain, and then we start to write gratitude or have gratitude for the things we desire that haven't happened yet. What we're doing is we're telling our brain to believe all of this. Our brain can't tell the difference that this has or hasn't happened. And because we have gratitude is such a heightened emotion, if we're feeling that emotion with it, one of the ways we create new memories in our mind is through a heightened emotional experience. The reason those experiences from when you're 10 years old are so imprinted in your subconscious is that's when our brain was forming, and they're usually heightened emotional experiences. We don't like remember, going to the grocery store when we were 10. We remember falling and skinning our knee, or when someone yelled at us, or whatever trauma with a capital T or lowercase t, how that impacted us, right? Because of that emotional imprinting. That's one of the ways that new memories are formed. Same as adults. You probably can't remember what you had for dinner 3 nights ago, but I guarantee you remember the last fight you had. So when we're practicing gratitude for the things we don't have yet, we're tapping into that higher level of emotion, which allows our brain to form a new memory in a way that it's actually going to keep the memory. And again, our brain can't tell the difference between the real and perceived event. So our brain is creating this memory of something it basically thinks has happened. Our brain's kind of like the smartest thing ever and also like the dumbest thing ever, in that we can just program it that way. And so we're programming our brain, hey, this thing has already happened, through that emotionality, which means we then are telling our subconscious this, we're going to go out and create this, because again, remember, it's been shown 95 to 99% of all of our conscious action starts in our subconscious mind. We've now started to tell our brain, this thing has already happened. Show up and act as if whatever this thing is you're practicing gratitude for has happened. So when we're coupling this really powerful practice of gratitude for what we already have and what's going on, we're more positive, we're feeling happier, we have better immune system, positive people sell more. We're tapping into all the benefits of gratitude itself. We're showing up in our business differently. We're seeing the opportunities instead of seeing all the negative in our business. We're seeing positive more than negative. We're rewiring our brain. And when we couple this with future gratitude, we're basically visualizing and telling our brain, hey, here's all the stuff that's already happened, and we're going to show up and act as if until it actually does in real life. Does that make sense? Hey, Feminism Inc. Nice to see you. Twombo says getting specific. That's good. Getting specific is that's just a great, thank you for bringing that up. Because I think that's such an important piece with gratitude and with any mindset, honestly, anything in business, right? If we're selling, we want to get specific. If we're talking to our ideal client, we want to get specific. If we're grading a piece of copy, we want to get specific. Specificity always wins. When it comes to gratitude, same exact thing, especially when we're applying this to our business and making more money or booking more clients or whatever the thing it is. Specificity always wins. It's sort of like manifesting 101 or brain science 101 or whatever your personal belief is. Bless you. I think they're two sides of the same coin. So we can go with the brain science or we can go with manifesting. I think they're honestly the same mechanisms, just depending on what your belief system is. Either way, the specificity is always going to win. So that's being really specific for what you're grateful for now, as well as being really specific and clear for what you're grateful for that's on the way. And so the way I do this, and we're talking just general notebook. Every day I sit my butt down and I just write all of the things I can think of that I'm grateful for. I write gratitude for my clients. I will list them all out, and then I write all of the gratitude for the things that I'm creating that are on the way. And again, I call it specific. My clients, I think some of them know this, I write gratitude for them. And in terms of what I'm hoping that they have as well, because I'm on their team and supporting them. And it's that simple. And I think this is, again, where it's almost too simple that we don't want to do it. But the power is in the repetition. And so it's just like going to the gym. If you go to the gym once, maybe you can do a pull-up. And then if you go to the gym twice and you go to the gym 3 times and you keep doing it, you get stronger and stronger and stronger, right? Anyone ever tried to do pull-ups or push-ups? This is the same exact thing. If you do this once, it's absolutely a positive practice. It's not going to do anything bad. But the power from this practice, the reason this changed my entire life, the reason this changed my entire business, the reason I feel like this, I can correlate the data points, the very like the metrics in my business to this practice, is from the repetition. It's not because I did it once or because I did it twice. It's because I've sat my butt down every single day to do it. And so I'd offer the same for you with a practice like this or any mindset practice. The power is in the repetition. And the reason the power is in the repetition is that's how we rewire our brain. That's how our brain works. That's how new memories are formed. That's how new patterns are formed. The patterns we have that aren't serving us now, it's not like we just woke up one day and had them. Patterns come from repetition, right? It's just because we've been doing the same thing for some of us 30 plus years, 40 plus, however old you are. And so it's going to take some time to rewire that pattern, to rewire that thought process, to create a new result. No different than the way you created the stuff you don't want in your life. And so it's the same exact thing with something like this. I'm just seeing if we have, thanks for all of you on the IGs, just seeing if we have any comments. And so that does feel like an important caveat, preface thing to add to that, because I do think where some of these practices get a bad rap is we do them once or twice, and then we get really mad or frustrated because the results haven't come in, and Kim promised me that this is the thing that's going to change everything. I promise you it will change everything, hands down, but it's going to change everything if you commit to doing it. There is no shortcut. I mean, it is the shortcut. It's really simple and easy, and I think it's like, I look forward to it every morning, but you don't get to skip over the doing it part. Thomas says power is on the repetition. Absolutely. I'm going to repeat myself because there's power in that. And that's, I mean, with everything, right? I mean, so much of, I think this is the funny thing. It just kind of cracks me up. The further I am into business and the more clients I support and the more clients I see do well, we always think it's some really difficult thing, or we always think we want it to be some challenging thing. It's usually pretty simple, easy, and that it's not complicated and not hard to actually do. This is not a difficult thing to sit down and do. And we get in our own way because we want to make it more complicated. We think it has to be harder. We don't believe that it can be that good, or we miss out on the repetition piece. We miss out on that piece where it's like the consistency that I always love to talk about. We're just not consistent, and that's where we get in our own way and where things stop working and we get frustrated and where we're bouncing all over the place, whether it's with a mindset practice or a business strategy. This really applies to everything. Seeing if we have any other comments, I think we're good. So just thinking, did I have anything else I wanted to share with you all? Now that I showed you my notebook, I lost my notes that I haven't looked at, but I want to make sure. I'm going to just check these before I let y'all go. I'm going to catch my bus for the Thanksgivings, but let me know if you have any questions. And I'm just checking in here. I can't actually read my handwriting, but I think this is the thing I wanted to close on with this practice. And I think this is just helpful for those of you who've heard any of my trainings. I talk a lot about, if you want something new in business, if you want something new in life, we have to create a new level of mind first before we create what we want in real life. So anything you have, any result in your business, any result in your life is preceded by a thought. Anything you currently have, you first had a thought and a belief behind it that impacted the way you show up and you take action. This is not something I made up. This is just like hard and fact. Like these are the rules. Are no rules, but these are the rules of life. Whatever result you have is preceded by thought. So if you want to create a higher level of success, if you want to create a higher level of health, if you want to create a higher level in your relationship, if you want to create a higher level of income, that is first preceded by a thought. You have to create a higher level of mind first. What we're talking about here is such a powerful way to do exactly that. You don't have to, I'm not saying we don't need to like deal with things, and sometimes we have some real trauma, again, capital T, lowercase t trauma. I'm not discounting that. I've had that, I've experienced that, I've had to do my own work on that. However, a lot of us in this space have done a lot of work on our shit and a lot of work on our BS. Sometimes we don't have to shovel it all up to be able to move forward. Sometimes the way we create a higher level of mind is by really simple practices like this and doing the work to rewire our mind. And this practice here, again, seems so simple. It's so powerful because it is rewiring your brain one day at a time, one positive thought at a time, versus constantly feeling like you have to excavate the things you've already taken a look at 4,000 times. I don't know about you, but some of the experiences that I've had, I don't ever need to really look at them again. I don't ever need to dissect them again. Like, they happen. They're not going to change. Like, they're there. That's great. What I do need to do is find a new level of mind, find a way to rewire my brain so I'm not constantly reacting and having patterns as a response to something that happened however long ago. And this, again, is one of the ways we start to do that. And it's one of the ways we start to show up differently, respond differently instead of react, create new patterns and new ways of thinking and new ways of being. And when we do that, that is how we create new results in our business, because every single result starts with that higher level of mind. The Content Life says, yes, action as you go. And yes, and hey, Jennifer, nice to have you here. Absolutely, action as you go as well. And I think what's nice about I don't know, this is what the Content Life meant. This is almost a whole nother, I think we need to do another live on this, on taking action before you're ready, because that comes up with clients all the time, but we'll have that as another topic. I think what we forget too, we talk about taking action a lot. Taking action is really important in business. Having a practice like this, and you can find your own practice that works for you, this is taking action as well. I think I often joke that mindset is my strategy, and if I take action on that strategy, everything else is good in my business. And it's kind of the truth. And I think we forget that not all action is efforting or pushing or working really hard. And that has been one of my biggest lessons. So you can borrow that from me and cut a few years off of your mindset work. That sometimes action is sitting down and doing the journaling, doing the gratitude practice, doing the future gratitude practice, doing the work internally so we can show up and take action in a really aligned way where we aren't overworking, where we aren't pushing so hard, where we aren't efforting our way, hoping to create some success. Because I promise you, that is not what creates results. Action does, but not efforting and pushing. And when we're changing the state of mind, the way we're thinking first, that changes even the action. So then we are taking action from that aligned place. All right. I am all fired up as usual. I feel like every time I get off one of these, y'all, I'm like all bouncing all over the place. Thank you for hanging out with me. Announcement. We have a free training coming up, 5-day free training. I'm very excited about this. I am doing a 5-day training, content that stands out and sells. So I will make sure we drop links for that. I'm going to turn this into a do-it-yourself product that I'm going to charge for because I think it's going to be that fucking good. So sign up and get it for free before I charge for it. Instagram, I need to make sure I put a link in my profile. And Besties and Bosses, I'll make sure we link it to the video here. It's going to be December 9th, so I think that's in about 2 weeks. 5 days. I'm going to share and pour as much of myself into these as trainings as I can. I want to give you everything that I can around content because that has been such a game changer for me as well as the mindset, but this is on the strategy side. So be sure to sign up for that and I'll leave all the links. And then I am wishing all my US friends the happiest Thanksgiving. I hope you have a wonderful holiday. And I just want to close by saying I am so grateful for all of you. I have had a very blessed year. I literally wouldn't be doing this work if it weren't for all of you, if you all weren't hanging out with me. So from the most sincere, like the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for sharing this work with me. Thanks for sharing this space with me. You all mean more to me than you could know. I write gratitude for all of you every morning. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a beautiful Thanksgiving, and I will be back next week with a fresh topic for y'all. Lots of love. All right, let's see. We're going to end here.